but simply to amend the Articles of Confederation. Add a paragraph, delete a sentence, just tweak it so that we get this economy thing going. So when they started writing the Constitution, one of the first recommendations was that Congress would have the power to coin money and emit bills. In other words, print paper money. And just about everybody lost their mind and said that's how we got into trouble in the first place, with all of the colonies printing money. And so Article 1, Section 8, Clause 5 explicitly limits Congress to coining money. Now, I don't know how you would coin money out of paper. I mean, that's almost a contradiction in terms.
That's a talent if you can do it.
Article 1, Section 10 says that the states may not use anything but gold or silver coin as tender in payment of debt. So any of the states that are dealing in Federal Reserve notes are guilty of treason because they're violating the Constitution. So at one point in our history, there was a warning not to take any wooden nickels. Why? Well, because you can whittle as many of those as you want, and they're basically worthless. It's counterfeiting. So wake up, America. Why would you accept paper money that the Federal Reserve can print faster than you can spend?
That's right.
You're accepting, wooden nickels, essentially. You're accepting paper money. So when the economy crashes, it's not an if at this point. I mean, it's one of those situations where you're walking down the sidewalk and you hear squealing tires, and as you look up, you see two automobiles sliding towards the intersection at about 30 miles an hour, and they're not going to be able to stop. There's nothing you can do about it except stand and watch as the two cars collide. At this point in the economy, it's impossible to prevent an economic collapse. All we can do is just kind of hold our breath and try to figure out the precise moment when it is going to happen. And when it happens, your paper money is going to – the green Federal Reserve notes that you're so happy to have in your wallet, those are going to be as valuable as your great-grandpappy's Confederate money. And, I mean, you may have a trunk full of it, but except for souvenir value, it's meaningless. It's not going to buy you any food at the store. And so you need to convert all of your paper money, or as much of your paper money as you can, into some commodity. Now, silver and gold and platinum are easy to store. You can hide a lot of value in a very small space.
Mm-hmm.
And what you would ultimately do is you would take one of your gold coins, trade that for a small sack of silver, and then you would spend the silver. Because, I mean, if gold is $1,200 now, it may go as high as $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 an ounce, by next year. If that happens, you can't walk into a grocery store with an ounce of gold. What are you going to do? Buy all of aisle 6?
It's true. It becomes kind of impractical, right?
It's impractical. And so the gold is for storage value, and then you trade the gold for a much larger supply of silver. Silver may only be worth, $50 or $100 an ounce, but now if you go to the grocery store, you can probably buy, groceries, because you have to understand that we're out of habit. We're going to continue to see prices in dollars, but it's only out of habit. It's like furlongs per fortnight. I mean, we can calculate it, but come on, miles per hour, feet per second, that's more realistic these days.
Mm-hmm.
But eventually, you're going to see prices in dollars and in ounces of silver.
Well, how do you? So I guess what you're saying is that because of its practicality and its ease of transport, I guess you could say, or the way that you can carry it is a lot more practical. Because, for example, I'm a precious metal collector too, but my precious metals are brass and lead. And you're right. It becomes kind of impractical to say, bring a case of ammo to the register here. Boom.
Although, I mean, you laugh, but any commodity
yes.
will be tradable. We did this, Joe, we solved the problem when you and I were in second grade. You go to the cafeteria for lunch, and you open up your lunch box, and Mom made you another peanut butter sandwich. And she knows that you hate peanut butter. But your buddy is sitting across the table from you, and he has a ham and cheese sandwich, which is like one of your favorite. And his mother won't give him peanut butter because she thinks it's fattening or some reason. And so you and your friend sit across the table and go, hey, I'll trade you my peanut butter sandwich for your ham and cheese sandwich. And if both of you think it's a great idea, you're both happy. I'll trade my apple for your banana. It's called barter. Now, we've only gone to money because it's really difficult to say how many bushels of apples you're going to get for, a bunch of bananas. I mean, and it would be an individual process over and over again. So what we've done is we've kind of standardized. I'll say that my bushel of apples is worth $5. You say that your bunch of bananas is worth $6, and we are translating into a common denominator. Everybody understands dollars, and you can fix the price. And if I know that the automobile that you're selling is $3,000, and I've got a paper route that makes $100 a week, I can calculate how many weeks I'm going to have to deliver papers before I can come and buy the car.
So yes, I mean, really anything is barterable. Whatever has value, that's
absolutely.
That's and I can see society in whatever form it takes when it does collapse. I can see it going to that only because at that point paper money will have. I mean, it's better to wipe your tuchus with, if you ask me. Griff, I mean, you hear the conversation so far, and I know that you're steadily preparing for this eventual collapse. How do you feel about that, and are there any differences to how you are posturing yourself to say the way that things are Michael's kind of posturing himself?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I enjoyed listening to you, Michael. I've been a coin collector since 1949. Can you imagine that? There, children. I've recommended everybody for the last 10 years to purchase 1/10 ounce gold coins. The small 10 small ones make 1 ounce for the very reason that you outlined. It's easier to deal with 1/10 of an ounce of gold. It's always nice to have junk silver coins on hand, a nice sack of them. I remember buying a bag of silver, about $3,000 worth of silver many years ago, and I think I paid $3 an ounce, something like that. I think silver is still a good investment. People should buy silver right now. I think it will run up in a similar fashion to gold. Not as high as gold, but it'll be a nice thing to have. That is, if you have enough food. Silver and gold are last things to buy if you have money left over. Food is number one on the list, and shelter and clothing, shoes, that kind of thing. Don't forget shoelaces and fingernail clippers, and it's just 100 things that you normally wouldn't think of. Buy
medication,
a lot of duct tape.
all your prescription drugs.
Yes, that's
if
right.
If your prescription drugs have a reasonably long shelf life, having a year's supply of medication on hand would not be a bad idea. And I'm not joking. I would recommend that people go out and purchase a Boy Scout handbook and study the chapters on survival.
Now, Michael, I've got a sensitive question to ask you. Now, Joe and John have been encouraging people to purchase single-ply Scott toilet paper and tampons. Now, what are your thoughts on that?
very valuable commodity.
I would agree, but I wouldn't get the single ply.
Safe on a septic system, Michael.
Yeah, well, that's true. But I don't want to get overly graphic, but Scout as long as I have. That's not absolutely necessary, let's say. But, yeah, I mean, all the things that you consider creature comforts, these are the things you need to anticipate. Emergencies are always easier to deal with if you have anticipated them in advance. If you wait until the hurricane hits to go out to the hardware store for lumber and plywood, you're going to discover all the plywood's gone, the water is gone, the electrical generators have been sold out. Don't wait until the last minute. And the primary problem is not how do you prepare, it's the denial. I mean, many of your listeners are probably on board, which is why they're your listeners. Mm-hmm. But a vast majority of the American public still does not believe that there's going to be an economic crash. They are convinced that the talking heads on television are going to bring the economy back. It's going to everything is going to get better. Everything is going to be the way it used to be, and it's not.
You're right. And
I've taken it one step further beyond the beans and bullets and toilet paper and tampons, guys. And I know my limitations when the economy collapses. I know what I'm going to be able to do. So I'm not worried as much for me and my family. What really concerns me is you people. The one that rings my bell or knocks on my door that's very desperate. So I have begun to store comfort items, packs of cigarettes and regular and menthol, some chewing tobacco, some breast strips, some male manicure kits, female kits. So those things are going to be more highly prized, I believe, than any amount of gold and silver, trust me.
So basically you're starting your own general store and you're stocking up now so that you'll be able to trade for these things, or are you planning to give all that stuff away?
No, I'm planning on trading these things. And by the way, Michael, what is the interest rate on 3 goats comparable to a 1996 Dodge 1500 Ram?
Well, that would be negotiable between the buyer and the seller, I would think.
Good answer. Yes.
And again, I mean, we're going to laugh a little bit, but unfortunately, there are women in society who are going to be negotiating and trading something that they never thought they would, just to get food and shelter.
No, you're right. Everything's barterable, isn't it, Griff?
Yes. Do you see a time in this country where there would be pockets of cannibalism?
Oh, God, I never dreamed that far in advance. I'm so busy focusing on today and the next week. No, I don't think it'll get that bad.
Where do you think the food will come from?
Well, I think a lot of people are going to starve to death. But I don't think that people are going to be smart enough to even consider cannibalism. I mean, there may be some small pockets of it. You had the story about the Donner Party. We've got the airplane crash in the Andes with the soccer team. So, I mean, it wouldn't be the first time in human history, but I think that things are going to turn around before it gets quite that bad.
How will it turn around?
Well,
what type of wine goes good with cannibalism?
Well, it depends on who you're eating.
I would go with a red wine.
Oh man, boy, if we really degenerated down to that.
Michael, what would turn it around?
Well, the American people, for one, and it is a mistake. I have a lot of people telling me that it has taken us at least 150 years to get into the problem, and therefore it's going to take at least 150 years to get